Hey, Fae folk, welcome back. So, we obviously talk a lot about Monster High here on the channel. I mean, it is my favorite fashion doll brand. And so, I, and probably many of you, can at a glance be like, that's Draculaura and she's a vampire. That's Cleo and she's a mummy. And to me, these characters are super obvious and their theming is super obvious and their monster type is super obvious. But is that because they actually are well defined and well themed characters? Or am I just so lost in the Monster High sauce that I can't help but think that they're well themed because it's so obvious to me? Basically, I was like, I wonder if people who don't know anything about Monster High would know what these characters are supposed to be. That was like the little question that went off in my head. But there's a slight problem. Obviously, I can't determine that because, again, lost in the Monster High sauce. And all my online friends are also in the doll world. So even if they're not Monster High fans, really, like, they know about Monster High, right? And I also can't stop talking about dolls in the real world either. So everyone close to me in person also at least has a tangential knowledge about dolls. So I don't really think that they'd be appropriate to ask because, like, they know, they've heard the name Draculaura, and especially like some of the names. Once you hear the name, you kind of know, oh, Draculaura, Dracula, vampire. I needed to find someone who knew nothing about these dolls and these characters to put to the test the question of are they well themed. So today's victim, just kidding. Today's like not special guest. They're not here. The person who made today's video possible is one of Tony's gaming friends who is going by the name of Cool Whip. I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, he, has heard through Tony that I collect dolls, but isn't in the doll sphere, and I haven't talked to him directly about dolls, so he was the perfect person to ask. So I went on Discord and I sent him pictures of the five, I think it's five, key characters from G3 of Monster High: Draculaura, Frankie, Claudine, Cleo, and Laguna. Yes, it is five. And I had him guess, without any extra knowledge outside of photos, what kind of monster he thought they were. Why did I do G3 instead of G1? I don't know. Honest to God, I have no idea. I was just like, here you go, bud. So if you guys like this video, if this is like fun for you, because we're going to go over his guesses now and like the commentary that he had on the designs now. If this is fun for you, Tony has more friends that I can rope into this shit to do a video like this on G1 as well. But yeah, I thought it would be interesting to have someone who knows nothing about dolls try to guess what monster type these characters are to just see what happens. So let's jump into it. So for each of the characters, Cool Whip got 4 images just to give him like a little bit of a range in terms of really being able to see what the character looks like and, the way they dress and everything like that. So starting off with Draculaura, he got this image of like what her animated version looked like in the Nickelodeon show, RIP to the show. I feel like it was a lot better than people gave it credit for. Anyway, so that was the first image he got. And then I did give him the 3 core looks that G3 Draculaura has had thus far. So refresher for you all in case like you've forgotten, because some of these were a few years ago now. This was the first core look, like the origination of G3. This is her second core look, the core refresh. And then lastly, the third core look, core refresh 2. So he got all 4 of these images. Let's see what he said about Draculaura. So he wrote, definitely vampire, bat earrings, fangs, bat earphone case, and I love the Pocky that she has in the last pic. Shout out to the Pocky, I guess. Didn't really help with the guess, but apparently it's a Cool Whip approved accessory. So he got that like right off the bat. And immediately I was like, okay, so he might really be good at this. And that is cool for like the theming of Monster High, but also that might make for kind of a lame video. But we pressed on. So the next character that he got some images of was Claudine. And I did use like the same images for all of them just to keep it consistent. So this is her animated version, her original core look, her core refresh, and then the core refresh 2. And once again, Cool Whip was like immediately on it. He said werewolf, fur in the first image gave it away, but if I only saw the other 3, the ears would have been the only way I would have known, which I do think is interesting. With Draculaura, he was able to point to several different things that immediately was like, oh, that's a vampire. And I do think it's important to note, again, like I kind of said this in the intro, but not super concretely. I didn't tell him the names of these characters. I didn't give him any hints. And I also didn't tell him along the way if he was right about any of these, because I didn't want him thinking, okay, I was right about the vampire, so there's not going to be another vampire. So like he didn't get any results or any extra information until after I've already asked about all this. But anyway, though, going back to Claudine, I think it's really, really fascinating that the fur in the like animated version is like what immediately hit him, even though she does have ears in the animated version as well. But the fact that on the dolls themselves, the only reason that he knew that Claudine is a werewolf is because of her ears, I do think is quite telling. And this is a critique that people have for G3. I don't remember if this was a critique with G1. I suppose you could let me know in the comments down below. But I mean, Claudine's style in G3, like the way that she dresses, the way that she ties into the werewolf thing, is that she wears various animal prints, but there's not really like a wolf print. Like that's not a super common animal print. So she wears zebra stripes and tiger stripes and leopard print. So she wears miscellaneous animal print, I suppose you could say, a lot of fur, which wolves do have fur. So there's that. And then she does have her celestial imagery that she has sometimes. But what is super funny to me is as I'm looking at these actual like core dolls, the celestial theming is very, very subtle. And I do think that that is more obviously werewolf than the animal print. And there are other dolls of Claudine's that have more active celestial theming. Like I think about like her Monster Fest doll had like all along the sleeves and stuff, like constellations and such. So I feel like that's a little bit more obviously involved in that theming. It's very interesting to me that her core dolls actually don't have a ton of that. It's not that they don't have any. I mean, looking at her third core look here, she has a sort of moon-ish bag, although this can also just be a bag shape. But she has moon charms on the bag and as well as on her belt. And then even going back to the first core look, it's very hard to see in this picture, to be fair. But her shirt, there are two varieties of this one, but I think this one has a little bit of moon on it. It definitely has a lot of animal print, but has a little bit of moon on it. She has like the again, celestial charms on her bag. I don't know, I just thought that was super, super fascinating that with Draculaura, yes, Cool Whip clocked the fangs, but it was also, oh, her accessories and stuff have bat themes. Whereas Claudine, it's like the doll herself. It's the ears that signify werewolf, and the clothing doesn't necessarily seem to be playing as much of a part. Next, we came to Frankie. So here is their animated look, along with the first core look, the core refresh, and then the second core refresh look. Now, I do just need to say, obviously, in Gen 3 of Monster High, Frankie is non-binary. They use they, them pronouns. I couldn't tell Cool Whip any of that, because again, I was trying to give him absolutely no information. So he does use the wrong pronouns, but it's not malicious. Like he literally didn't know. So I just wanted to say that. I don't want anyone being mean to Cool Whip. He was so helpful and so nice with this video. But here was his response to Frankie. Zombie, stitches on the skin and the pale skin. I like that she has robot or cool metal limbs. The stitches on the metal leg, though, don't make sense. They should be weld marks instead. This was the first one he got wrong, but like, I do think it makes sense. I mean, the stitches and stuff like are giving undead, so he has that right. Which, is Frankie technically undead? Because they're made of like a bunch of dead bodies. I think they're technically undead, but I can definitely see where he is getting zombie from them if he doesn't have all the context. I do think, even as a G3 defender, okay, I am a G3 defender, but I do think that if we do this video again for G1, maybe G1 Frankie will be easier to guess, because G1 Frankie has the neck bolts like Frankenstein and also has the greener skin tone, whereas the G3 version has a bluer skin tone and doesn't have the neck bolts. I feel like perhaps that would have given a little bit more Frankenstein than zombie. I don't know. Again, we'll have to see. If you guys like this enough, I'm happy to do that video too. But I understand where he went wrong with Frankie here. It is super funny to me though, because I never registered to me somehow in all the years that I've been a fan of Monster High, and all the years that like G3 has been out at this point, that Frankie's robotic leg does in fact have stitches molded on, which I guess is just like a personality thing. Like they feel like having their stitches on their robot leg too, which is fine. It's cool that they have like a custom leg and, you know, can have like the sculpting that matches the rest of their body. But it was just interesting to have it pointed out, and also to see through someone's eyes who isn't a fan of the series and doesn't know anything about it, be like, that sort of doesn't make sense from an outside perspective. So this was definitely an interesting one. That brought us to Cleo. Here is her animated version, her core look, the core refresh, and then the core refresh 2. Now with Cleo, I did actually think that this one might be a little bit more difficult because she's very obviously giving Egyptian, right? Like, that's not really a question, but I wasn't sure if he would immediately get mummy because sometimes her bandages aren't super accurate or super present, I guess I should say. Or maybe it's not even that they're not present, they're always present. Sometimes they're not as obviously bandages, and if, she's wearing something where more of her body sculpting is covered, you might not see the bandages literally on her body. That was my thought process going in. I was completely wrong though. We said mummy, hieroglyphics on the skirt, scarabs on the pyramid. I like the gold and light blue combo of everything. Also the little cobra in the last pic. So he approves of his set. We love to see it. We love a little bit of his set phantom there. But yeah, he got mummy immediately, which again, I think is kind of interesting, and especially because he was going more with the scarabs and like the hieroglyphics. It wasn't about the wrappings at all, even though at least like with the core refresh and somewhat of the first core doll, like you can definitely see her sculpted wrappings on there, but that wasn't what screamed mummy to him. And I do suppose when you think of an Egyptian monster, the first thing that you are going to think of is sort of like the mummy coming back to life, even though there are like, so many other things you could do with Egyptian mythology. That is definitely the most prevalent thing, I think, in Western minds specifically. Like Universal Monsters and the Mummy, like all of that stuff. So I guess I shouldn't be so surprised that he saw Egyptian and immediately was like, oh yeah, duh, that's a mummy. I just thought it was sort of fascinating that it's the like Egyptian imagery that is making that very clear and not technically speaking any of the actually monstrous imagery. And then lastly for today's video, we had Laguna. So once again, same set of images as always, the show image, the first core look, the core refresh, and then the second core refresh. And here is what Cool Whip had to say. Unfortunately, he ended on another miss. He said, mermaid, is a mermaid a monster? Definitely aquatic themes going on. And the shark teeth fanny pack is great, referencing the fanny pack from her first core look. So unfortunately, a little bit off because she is a sea monster, not a mermaid. They are, again, as he said, both definitely very aquatic in theme. And this I thought was super interesting because I feel like I remembered this being a debate and a point of contention when it comes to Laguna when G3 first came out, specifically with people critiquing the fact that with her very vibrant, colorful color scheme, horrible, whatever. But with her color scheme, she is reading a little bit more mermaid and a little bit less monstrous. I am curious to know if Laguna having a more subdued color scheme in G1 would be more obviously a sea monster, or if it would still just be like something ocean related. Like, I don't know. I don't know if she's reading to an outside perspective 100% sea monster in G1 either. Now I'm just convincing myself more and more that I also have to do that. I hope you all like this so that I can get these answers. But yeah, I feel like I remember that being a really big critique actually of Laguna, is her looking too mermaid and maybe like a little bit too nice, because even as Cool Upset, is a mermaid a monster? I mean, like, technically speaking, I think you could say that. Like, I definitely think a mermaid like Serena Bamboo belongs at Monster High. But I know, in our society, we don't necessarily think monster when we think mermaid. So that was something that, again, I feel like I remember Laguna getting critique for. Like, she doesn't look like a monster. She looks too nice, too sweet, too cutesy mermaid. Another thought that I'm having is like, it would have been interesting to show more screenshots. I didn't want to give too much away though, you know what I'm saying? But like, there are moments in the show where Laguna is like pulling out her little sharp chompy teethy and she's going in, and I feel like that definitely reads a lot more monstrous than when she's just standing. I don't know. I just thought that the fact that he went specifically to mermaid was very, very interesting. Understandable, certainly, because like, I don't know, you see all these cute aquatic things, and I do think we're a little bit more primed, even in a world of Monster High, to think mermaid versus monster. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I spend too much time thinking about mermaids. But apparently Cool Whip does too. So that's not on me. But yes, guys, that is it for today. This was definitely a little bit of a shorter one, so sorry about that, but I just thought it would be interesting to explore. As I said a couple times throughout the video, I do think it would be really interesting to do this with G1 also, perhaps with a slightly more expanded cast of characters. So if this was fun, if you want to see another iteration of this video, please do let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know what you thought of Coolwhip's guesses, because I think they were all quite logical. And honestly, for someone who doesn't know anything about dolls at all, other than the fact that they exist and I'm a fan of them, I feel like he did really good. And even the misses that he had, like I said, with Laguna and Frankie thinking mermaid and zombie, I do think they were reasonably understandable and not horrifically far off from the actual monster type. It's not like he thought that Laguna was a mummy. You know what I'm saying? Like they were still pretty close. So does G3 have good theming? Are these characters very obviously their monster types? I would say with 3 out of 5 correct and the 2 out of 5 misses close, yeah, I think that they're doing pretty good. There's definitely room for improvement, but I do think that they've made some solid choices and some pretty solid theming. So that's my takeaway. Feel free to drop your own opinions in the comments down below, but that's going to be it for me for today, y'all. I hope you are able to enjoy. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.